Hey, how's it going? I'm in my happy place, up in the forestry, above Loch. It's beautiful. So, this is going to be a bit of a difficult thing to talk about, or at least it might be. I've never tried to do this before. I want to talk about an experience I had while I was drunk that, for some reason in my mind, feels like a very difficult time. And it's weird because it won't sound like it to you, but it was. So I and my friends, we used to go to Loch a lot, camping, or camping in inverted commas, because we quite often didn't even bother with tents. We just got drunk and then lay down, and that's what happened on this occasion. So Loch is a loch in the Galloway area of the west of Scotland. It's a beautiful place. It's Scotland at its finest. And we used to get a massive carry out, troop up to Loch and build a fire and get drunk. Take a guitar with us, take some food, cook the food on the fire. It was great, But for me, it usually ended up in blackout. And blackouts were something that would happen to me a lot when I was drinking. Increasingly so as my alcoholism progressed. And on this occasion, I had passed out. Obviously I don't remember the passing out part, but I remember the waking up part. And this is what's weird. It's the only time I ever experienced this. Is I woke up, and I'm assuming it would have been sort of May, June, July, so it was, warm enough not to need a tent, at least when drunk. And I woke up, must have been as the sun was coming up or already up, but for not very long. And I got up and I had this incredible urge to get away from everyone and to walk home. I wanted to be home. So I got up and I started walking. And I walked, I'm going to say around a mile. I'm not sure how far it was. But I walked for a reasonable amount of time before coming to, I think. I came to the realisation that I was walking home from Loch at, let's say, 5 in the morning. And I mean, it's a long way from, well, when I say home, I mean back to my mum and dad's house in Prestwick. So we're talking too far to walk, particularly with a hangover at 5 in the morning. So when I came to, I turned around, walked back to the campsite, lay back down and went to sleep. And I never told anyone about this, which may sound weird because, I didn't do anything bad, I didn't do anything embarrassing, so I don't understand why it's such a difficult thing to talk about and why it made me feel the way that it did. And on reflection, I think what happened was I woke up in blackout, but I was conscious enough that I remember what I did, and that had never happened before. There's a friend of mine I used to drink with when I was at uni who used to test me to see whether I was in blackout, and he would do a sequence of finger movements, and then the next day, first of all, ask me if I remembered that there was a sequence of finger movements, and if I did, what that sequence was. And that was how he would test whether I was in blackout or not. And to me that seems a little bizarre because, well, at least at that time, maybe not so much, but certainly later on when I was drinking at home after I got married, my wife could tell instantly when I was in blackout. But maybe back in my uni days, the difference between sober and blackout wasn't quite so stark. I don't know. But it got me thinking about the idea of, you know, what happens to your consciousness when you're in blackout. And this is something I've thought about a lot. There's a video I'd like to make about oblivion, and this is kind of getting close to that. I've found that video too difficult to make so far. I actually started making it and then didn't complete it, so I would like to come back to it. Maybe this will be a way into that. But what happened was, you know, I feel like the consciousness, I mean, I believe in a higher power, right? I believe in a connection to source. I believe that art, self-expression, love, these are all things that connect us to source, and that self and ego get in the way of that connection, and that's why I drank, because of the pain of living, you know. So as I was walking up here thinking about what I was going to say on camera today, and I'm still not really sure, as you can probably tell, is the idea that it's difficult to put into words. I seek oblivion, I seek solace from the pain, so I drink, or I take drugs, or whatever it might be. And it connects me to source. I often used to wake up after a drink, like the next day or the day after, and feel like I had exorcised demons somehow, which is something I'll probably need to explore a bit more in a later video at some point. But the conclusion I'm coming to now is that that connection to source that arises through alcohol in particular is, let me see, is it corrupt? Is that the word I'm looking for? I think this is why I love the Thomas Covenant books so much, written by Stephen Donaldson, who's written the first Chronicles and the second Chronicles and the last Chronicles of Thomas Covenant, the Unbeliever. And it's all about despite, Lord Fowl the despiser. The book is filled with demons, it's filled with the Creator, it's filled with white gold. Check my ring out. My wedding band is white gold because of the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant. And it talks a lot about corruption of natural law, concepts which, ever since I first read those books, have fascinated me. And I think now that I'm sitting here talking on camera, I think it's beginning to come to me why those books mean so much to me. And it's to do with this idea that connection to source, connection to the Creator, love, these are all things that I strive for. Life is pain, and in order to get that connection, I would drink. Now, when the connection is open through means other than love, then that opens the way for demons. It's a bit of a heavy concept, but it's not the first time I've thought about this. I've got a friend who actually has suggested this to me, and she believes in demons, and that was what was happening to me when I got into blackout mode. And it makes sense when I think about it, that there are demons, and when I'm vulnerable to those demons, which happens when I'm drunk and in blackout, those demons come into my life and then all bets are off. There's no telling what I might do. And this was always my biggest fear, was that I would do something so bad that I would end up in jail or worse, not knowing whether I was actually culpable for the things of which I was being accused. So that could have happened quite easily. I mean, how would I know if, let's say for example, I had stolen a car and killed someone in blackout, woke up the next day in jail, no memory, no recollection. How would I know that I had actually done that? Well, chances are, there would be witnesses and all of that stuff, but that's the kind of thing that could happen. Now, fortunately, when I was in blackout, I was never physically abusive, but I was verbally abusive, and my wife tells me some of the things that I used to say in blackout, and it just seemed utterly bewildering to me, because some of the things that she said that I had said simply weren't true. I mean, why would I say things that weren't true? And that old saying, in vino veritas, which is a way of saying that when one is drunk on wine, one tells the truth. I've never actually believed that. For me, I did used to say, alcohol would lower my inhibitions, as it does for everyone, I think. And then I would find myself, with the pain of life having been lifted, I would feel myself eager and able to communicate. And this is something that I still struggle with to this day. And I'm beginning to find ways of doing that through this kind of thing, through making content, sitting in the woods. Making content like this, whether it helps you or not, is immaterial. It helps me. It helps me to connect. As does walking up here to this place. Exercise, forcing myself to get out the house even though I don't feel like it, which is what happened today. I didn't want to come out. I was feeling really low and I wanted to go and lie on the sofa and read a book. But I said, no, Cams, you need to get out, walk up the hill, and just in case you feel like making content, take your backpack. Because that's often what happens, is when I'm exercising myself, climbing that steep hill, I find myself with the pain of life lifted a little bit, and I start to feel that connection. And that makes me want to communicate. And that's what alcohol used to do for me. It used to make me want to talk to my wife, to my friends. The idea of making phone calls used to freak me out. In fact, if I'm honest, to some extent it still does. And when I got drunk, I used to have a strong urge to phone people, to talk to friends, to be with people, So, anyway, how did I get there? From the idea of oblivion and demons and what happened to me that time, camping at Loch, as what age would I have been? Sort of early 20s. Drinking myself into blackout, waking up, thinking I could walk home. And I might have walked for an hour, something like that, before it came to me. What the fuck am I doing? There's no way I can walk home from Loch at 5 in the morning with a hangover. That's just not, that's insane. And then sneaking back, lying back down and kidding on it never happened. So I've never told anyone about this. I'm still embarrassed about it, deep down, and this is what I'm trying to explore here on tape with you as my audience, because I think it's time. I think it's time for me to look at these things and to think more about what I can do as a sober alcoholic, as a human being. What can I do to maintain a connection to Source, to improve my conscious contact with God as I understand God, which is how the big book of AA puts it. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God. So I think in a sense making content for YouTube, for the internet, is a form of prayer and or meditation. Talking honestly and openly in a vulnerable fashion, exploring my past without wishing to shut the door on it, with no regret. And I think I need to face up to these things and explore them, because that particular event has been shut away. I've never explored it. I've thought about it, but I've never actually put it out onto tape and recorded it. And so I'm doing that here in my happy place, my favourite place in the world, I think I would say, is this forestry above Loch. It's the most amazing place, and I sit here today with some rain falling on me, the sound of birdsong, the wind in the trees, the sound of creaking branches, falling branches. There's no better place. And so what better place than this to sit here and explore a difficult event in my life caused by alcohol. So yeah, one day I'll get to that video about oblivion. It's inspired by an episode of House MD. You might be interested to learn why that is. If you are, stick around. I'm going to be talking about it, hopefully, very soon. If you want to watch me get better, if you'd like to get better yourself, if you find this at all valuable in any way, then give it a like, hit the subscribe button, because there's going to be lots more of this stuff coming. I'm all about unscripted, stream of consciousness recovery, and if that's something that you can get on board with, stick around. That would be great. If you're a suffering alcoholic and you're looking for some help, Alcoholics Anonymous is there for you. I can heartily recommend it. It got me sober. If you do want to have a discussion with me, you can get in touch by visiting my website at camscampbell.com, and when you subscribe to my newsletter, that will establish a communication channel with us, and who knows where that could go. But I'm here, I'm ready to listen, and if you've been listening to me for this long and you've got to the end of this video, thank you very, very much. I appreciate it a lot. I don't feel like I'm alone, and you're not alone either. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.